and welcome to an extra spooky Welcome to Friday, because we're recording this, Charlie, on Hop Tuesday morning.
We are. I was expecting you to do a real big, like... Do you know when you do that, it gives me PTSD of Scarefest.
Really?
The job they did for Scarefest was incredible. I hated every single second of it. And June and Justin used to love it, like how wound up I would get and the mental breakdowns that would follow when I would have to go around it. But not to be anymore, so I don't have to worry about that.
Well, on that note, let's hit the intro and we'll start the show. Yes, hello and welcome, to Welcome to Friday. Charlie, what sort of week has it been?
Well, I'd say it's been quite a busy week, Sam. It's been an emotional one. It's been a fairly heavy one, I would say. Obviously, the House of Keys sat this week, and when we recorded last week, we were still partially through the Tynwald sitting. So last week we had to apologise for offending quite a few people. And I can't say this week's particularly any different.
I haven't offended anybody.
Have you not?
No.
Not a single person?
A few people who work at McDonald's.
Yes, you did.
Although, did you see a certain company which I may have formerly been associated with a certain animal variety, posted about McDonald's being reopened, said we're saying no more, and then got a lot of shit for doing that because it was inferring that people who go to McDonald's or whatever. And I was just like, I quite like a Mackey's breakfast. I was just pointing out that you can buy Manx food and make nicer food at home, and it actually doesn't have to cost the world. Or even better, go and get from one of your local takeaways. And I get McDonald's as a sizable employer on the island, people, but equally go support your local takeaways and yeah.
Absolutely, and I know it was nice. I really enjoyed that piece you did on that actually, because I think I can understand the hype around McDonald's. I get it. Whatever. Like, do I go? Yes, of course I did go. Like, really, who doesn't? But would I be queuing up to go after it's been closed for a few weeks? No.
Will, what would you be doing?
Well, I haven't been, so that's my answer.
You've never been to McDonald's in your life?
No, I have, but not since they've reopened.
What you go to?
Cook at home, mostly.
No. If you go to
Look at me.
To the Golden Arches, what you getting?
I used to love the Chicken Legend, and I wish they'd bring that back.
I had this exact same conversation last night about what you get from McDonald's, right? And we both were like, Chicken Legends were just the best thing. Then they stopped doing them, and it's just.
See, I love Christmas at McDonald's because I love the cheesy bites.
Yeah, they're good.
The Christmas cheesy bites are the best cheesy bites that you can get. They're my...
Other Americanized globalist companies are available, by the way.
Yeah, or, as Sam pointed out in his lovely article, Think Manx Before McMansion, you can also shop local.
Yes, and part of tying in back to last week's minimum wage debate is, of course, on this shopping local. Charles, let me go on that link. Ooh, well done. So, part of that is the shopping local element and the local businesses and especially the hospitality sector, which as well, a lot of the concern has come from about the minimum wage increase. And, so let's quick recap. Last week that passed by a significant margin in Tynwald. You'll have the number in front of you, I hope.
I do have the number. Oh, I do have the number somewhere. I think it was
7 MHKs voted against.
Yes, it was. It was 7. It was.
You can find that on Manx.New as we're so well organised today.
I know.
But yes, you can actually find. We've done a piece actually saying how your MHK voted, so you can go on and find that full.
Yeah, it
vote.
was 7 against, 17-4, and then for Legco it was 8-4 and none against.
Yes. So
yeah, the minimum wage. Obviously, I've sort of taken this on as a little baby. Mm-hmm. I would probably say, is fair to say. And I wrote an opinion piece on Sunday night after listening to the debate on Thursday. Honestly, I needed a few days to sort of take emotion out of it and be like, okay, I've kicked up a fuss about it. I've done a few interviews, and I think now is the final opinion piece to have on it, which went down actually. I didn't expect it, to be honest with you, to get the traction that it did get. A lot of small businesses were all backed exactly what I said. And in the world that we live in, obviously a few people disagreed with that. As that goes with the people that disagree normally go for you on a very personal level. So that's always lovely. So I actually got a bit of abuse on Twitter, Sam.
Yeah, so I never engage really with people on Twitter. I just put up my own trolling and then run away.
So see, when I get trolled, I think I'm really welcome to other people's opinions and perspectives. And I think, okay, that's your opinion, that's fine, this is mine. Do you want to meet up and we can talk about it? I can hear properly where you're coming from and you can hear where I'm coming from. And actually, when you really delve down into it, you generally find everyone wants the same thing, but everyone's coming from different perspectives and different angles for it. But my troll didn't want to meet up with me. They just wanted to slag me off on the internet instead, which is absolutely fine. But I'll let that the listener decide what you can sort of think to that. Now, the opinion piece, basically, I went into quite a lot of detail on the whole thing, how I do believe it was reckless, rushed, and it will have a devastating impact on local businesses as well as the employees, because the whole thing that gets thrown around here is that it's going to be so much better for the employees. I personally do not believe that it will be, because I think once you've taken into the account how the costs are going to go up to be able to pay for this minimum wage, and the opportunities or the lack of opportunities that are going to be there within the workforce as a result of this, because, you know, these jobs are in theory entry-level jobs. Okay, that is how they're sort of deemed when you're on minimum wage. And I appreciate that. I'm not saying it's under the definition, it's meant to be like a low-skilled job, isn't it? I hate that phrase because I think there's so many people that are on minimum wage that I think it's really not fair to say that. But that's what it is. And I think, you know, I had this conversation with Devon Watson the other day, actually, that, you know, normally people then move out of that and they keep progressing with their career and that's how it works. And, you know, that doesn't fit everyone. I get that. But equally, these jobs that are paid minimum wage, are companies now going to be going, actually, that's too expensive, or there are other alternatives we can do instead of having this job there?
Well, I did think about this. I thought this is where the hospitality sector is royally kind of screwed on this, because it can't do that.
No, it can't. And it equally, once your minimum wage employees have had their wage go up, then all of the other levels have to. Like we've said, you know, if your waiter Ron is now going to have a nearly 10% increase, then your chef's got to have that. It's got to get passed up. And those costs can't be swallowed.
You know, it's like, I don't know if you've been to like it's like the Tottenham Stadium, for example. Like they did this thing where they brought in where you could get like, you know, pints that are, you push a button and it just pours a pint for you. And they kind of work to a point, but you're not going to get that in pubs on the Isle of Man. You're not going to get to go back to the Golden Arches or to KFC or to basically anywhere that does chips. You know, you can't at this time, AI can't be frying chips for you.
No, but you know what's really interesting, actually? If you go into, obviously, new Marks and Spencer's food hall's opened. Have you been in yet?
Oh my God, it's amazing.
Well, what I found really interesting is we've had for quite a long time, obviously, the self-checkout, little basket things. There's now a trolley self-checkout. If you think 10 years ago how many people would have been on those tills, those jobs are no longer there because it's all automated. And I think what you're going to see now is more and more of that where people can, or equally, people that may, or businesses that may be employing someone locally are now going to look to outsource it elsewhere, and to outsource it in different jurisdictions if it can be done like that. Obviously, you know, for hospitality and things, that's a bit more tricky. But of course, they're going to be having to try to keep their business afloat and keep what employees they do have in work, but some are going to have to go. And equally, I also questioned democracy, because I think the Coman collective vote, I don't particularly agree with it, because I genuinely do believe that there's some members of the Council of Ministers that if they weren't tied by that collective vote would not have voted for that increase.
I was intrigued by certain ministers who didn't speak, including, to be fair, the President seemed a bit caught off that the Chief Minister didn't speak. Because at one point, Lawrence Scully went to call on Alf Cannon and he didn't speak. And that was kind of surprised by that. I was a bit sort of like, this is kind of, I get the Treasury and Enterprise are owning this, but this is a big thing that has been very contentious, and I was surprised that there wasn't something coming from Alf on it.
I stand by the fact that I think there were members in that Coman, in that council, that would not have voted for it if it was not for the collective vote. And then that makes me go, hang on, but we voted them in there on a certain manifesto. They then go into council, and then actually everything that we voted for them, they're then, if it doesn't agree with whatever the collective vote is, then it's worthless.
Jesus Christ, you spend one coffee with Devon Watson and you're talking about party politics on the Isle of Man, Charlie.
No, Sam, I just...
This is literally Lib Bannon and Manx Labour Party. This is their big push. This is why you need party politics on the Isle, man.
No, see, I still stand by an individual. I do stand by an individual. But I don't think it's really right when because even, you look, I heard Laurie the other day saying even if he doesn't agree with something, if his party does agree with it, then he has to go with it. And I understand that, but do I even still agree with that? No, because I am very much for the individual side of it. But equally, I also did call out the Enterprise Minister, because Enterprise is there to help businesses and to really encourage them to grow and do all of those things. It isn't there to suffocate them. And I think the fact that Enterprise brought this forward, I think is so wrong. And yeah, I don't agree with that. I also did call out the Chamber of Commerce, because they have, in the words of Tim Glover, they have been flip-flopping on this. They did back it, not 100%, but they did. They called on Tynwald to back this calculation. And then when it happened, no, we can't do it. I think you're absolutely fine to have a change of heart and change your decision. Of course you are. Everyone is. But equally, then fight bloody hard for it. Don't just sort of kick off a bit in the background. And yeah, that's how I felt about it. And I think this Council of Ministers and those people that have voted for this minimum wage have each played their own part in helping kill small business on the island.
Yeah, there'll be some that go.
There'll
be some that survive, and there'll be some that kick on with it, and that's, to be fair, as Gary Clute said, we allegedly live in a free capitalist society, which we don't.
But Gary Clute also insinuated that the businesses that are going to fail in this, it is down to business planning. I think that is an awful thing to say. And I think from someone who...
It's a very Maggie Thatcher thing to come out with.
No, it isn't.
It is. She was big on free markets.
I think this is from someone that has no experience, to my knowledge.
He has a lot of business experience.
Yes, but
That's why they put him in there.
But he's tech.
Yeah.
But tech works so differently to hospitality, retail, trades, care, and the sectors that this is going to impact. I'm not saying he has no clue about business. That's not what I'm saying for a second. But with those businesses, no. It's basically like saying, let's have someone who works in care go and then run a trade site. They're two totally different things, and those people that are in those industries know those industries. I would never dare challenge him on tech. But I don't think for him to turn around to all those businesses that are saying we're really struggling and this is going to absolutely fuck us in the arse, that he has a clue about what they're going through. I don't think you can comment on it unless you've walked a mile in someone's shoes and you've been in that sector. So yeah, that's how I felt about minimum wage.
Yeah. Well, we have actually got the Chamber of Commerce CEO Rebecca George put a video up on their socials the other day. In fact, we'll put that in now so you can get a grip of what the Chamber has said, and then I think we'll take a break and come back on actually more about the minimum wage. So
it won't be my ranting.
We'll be back in a sec.
Hi, I just wanted to jump on video to talk a little bit about the fallout from last night's decision in the minimum wage rise. It was disappointing to hear so many members of Tynwald openly criticise Chamber last night for doing exactly what we exist to do, which is to represent our members, which is over 450 island businesses employing more than 20,000 people. We warned in July of the risks of using a median wage calculation that is using an overinflated by 28% differential between public and private sectors. We supported minimum wage only if it was linked to private sector pay. We could not have fought harder to make the case for balance and realism. This morning, even the Treasury Minister acknowledged this decision will create challenges for small businesses. The businesses affected by this have been telling politicians for months that a 9.9% rise is simply unaffordable. They have warned it would be devastating for our island's economy, and yet they weren't listened to. Since COVID, minimum wage has already gone up by 48%. So if the aim was really to help workers, government could have done it through higher tax allowances or national insurance thresholds. Instead, it chose to put jobs, investment and training at risks. businesses face harsh choices now. Some will raise prices, some will shed jobs, and some will spend the next few months deciding whether they can even survive beyond next April. And here's the reality: prices are going to go up and no one will be able to afford to buy a cup of coffee or go out for lunch or enjoy the small things that keep our economy alive. We might not see the fallout now immediately. I think some businesses will scrape through this winter and even through spring and summer next year when the rise takes effect. But I am incredibly fearful for what comes next winter. That is when the true fallout will be felt, when the reserves are gone and when costs have compounded and when too many realise they simply cannot keep going. We, Chamber, are not going to roll over. This is one battle in the wider war for our future economy. We will continue to meet with our members and government to take a proactive stance to educate loudly and publicly about who really pays for this economy. Because until that truth is understood, decisions like this will keep punishing the very people they claim to protect.
Hello and welcome back. So, Charlie, just before we move on from minimum wage, the final sort of things on this, there's a couple of stories which we've put up in the past couple of days which relate to this. One being about how much it would cost the government to raise the income tax thresholds. On MHK, Julie Edge is going to ask the Treasury Minister this in Keys on Tuesday. Yeah. This was put forward by several politicians and Eddie Tier as well. So she's asking what it would cost to put up the single person's tax-free allowance by 250 quid, 500 quid, 750 quid, £1,000, and up to 20,000. That 20,000 figure is very interesting because that's very closely aligned to Jersey, not Guernsey. Guernsey's actually a bit higher than us, but not a massive amount. Jersey's is the one which is like very different. Jersey, of course, however, does have a bizarre reputation, which I discovered this week, which it has the most Michelin-star restaurants per square mile for a country, and also the most food banks.
Really?
Which I thought was very interesting. But then Jersey also has a very bizarre, like, their hospitality sector operates very differently to ours. They sort of have like a kind of, work permit system that kind of works there.
Yeah.
It's not properly a work permit. It's complicated to understand it because it took me about an hour and a half reading it to try and get it. But they work very differently to us. But it is interesting that that's the figure that she's looked at because it was suggested by it here. It also closely lines up with Jersey. So it's like, well, how much will that cost here for that? Because personally, that's another $6,000 that I wouldn't be paying to. I'd love it.
Yeah, but I think that's the thing. And I think that should have been the starting point for Treasury to go and look at that. Instead of, and they can say what they like. It is a tax grab. This minimum wage, the whole thing, I think it is a tax grab, but it's being wrapped up as a compassionate thing to do for workers. The compassionate thing to do for workers would have increased their tax thresholds. And I think it was a no-brainer. And we can go on about cost. How much is our government workforce costing?
Well, that is actually another list of questions that are due to come out soon, actually, about how much the government wage bill has risen again.
Astronomically.
And that'll be interesting to see when that comes out.
But talking about minimum wage, this is going to be my final bit on it, hopefully, unless I get sidetracked. The Enterprise Minister will also face a series of questions relating to the increase in next week's House of Keys sitting. So, Arbury, Castertown and Maloo, MHK, Jason Morehouse. Jason's on one at the minute. Jason was one of the good MHKs that voted against this increase. But he'll be asking how many businesses contacted the Minister and officers in his department about the minimum wage in the 7 days commencing October 23rd. And that's quite interesting because we've seen the letter that was sent to the members of Tynwald strongly opposing the implementation of the increase, which over 300 businesses signed. So it'll be really interesting, I think, actually, if we get the real answer, how many businesses did contact the department.
Watch that answer be very technically very small number.
Exactly.
Because I reckon that wasn't businesses, that was a chamber. So shuffle on.
I'm very, very curious as to how that will be worded.
Yeah. But sticking in business news though.
Okay.
We're going to stick in business news.
Okay.
Good news for the Isle of Man, we're getting 5G.
Yes, so I
Manx
saw.
Telecom and Shaw have announced that they're going to be doing this. Now, Manx Telecom are very interesting about why they're doing this. Because Manx Telecom has been sold to a company called CVC Diff, which is the infrastructure strategy arm of Global Private Markets Manager, CVC, which I don't know why, but CVC to me sounds like you used to have VHS tapes.
Yeah, to me it sounds like CVS, like the pharmacy in the States.
Yeah. But also, more importantly, the JT Group. Now, what is the JT Group, Charlie?
Jersey?
Yeah, and who owns it?
Jersey.
The government of Jersey. So our key national infrastructure, being our phone system, is going to be owned by a foreign government.
And who did own it? Because we didn't own it before, did we?
No, very well. There's a very complicated history and all that involving British Telecom and O2 and Manx.Telecom being sold around several times.
Was it a business company that owned it, though, that's just sold it to another government?
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, yeah. Now, I'm not saying the Manx government had £500 million lying around to go buy it, but it's still a concerning element in all this. But
it is a concerning element, but equally, like, we haven't owned it for a long time. I think the fact that another government's bought it is a bit like, I think that raises a few more questions. But equally, if the Isle of Man government had gone and bought it, I'd have been like a ringing up a drain pipe coming for them going, we're spending what on what?
Yeah, so it'd be interesting how that works. I wouldn't be amazed if we see a boosting of Cura over the next couple of years, especially possibly within the next 2 to 3 years, just giving a bit more power on some of this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of bored of Manx.Telecom. Let's talk about Shaw. Shaw, who are also bringing 5G, which is really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, we're almost in, 2015?
Shaw have undergone a new rebrand as well, haven't they?
Yeah, they got a fancy new logo and stuff.
Yeah.
Which I quite like, actually. I quite like the new logo.
I do. I'm not against it. It took me a bit by surprise when I walked down the street the other day. I was like, oh, who's that? Right, other news, Sam, what else we got?
Well, also sticking with business news. Very business. This is a business.
This is a business.
Which I can't, every time now, it's just Muppets Christmas Carol. You love business.
You love business news.
But Kroger Limited
Oh,
owes £22,363.60.
Trish, you've had to make inquiries with various departments, but I can confirm the following. There is a £22,363.60 due from Kroger Limited. This is inclusive of that. The balance is owed to the Department for Infrastructure. Based on responses received, there are no other balances outstanding as a result of the transactions between departments and Kroger Limited or any other Kroger entity listed within the Honourable Member's question. I understand that this balance is being managed by the Department for Infrastructure. At this stage, I'm unable to comment any further on the process or the progress of its recovery. Thank you.
Formally, it's owed to the DOI, and the outstanding balance, there's inquiries going about that across various governments. He said he can't comment further on that because, for understandable reasons, to be fair. But the interesting thing about this is that the Kroger UK company is in liquidation and owes money to the North Sea Transition Authority. And in fact, I'll play a bit of that exchange from Keys in a second. But the other thing that was interesting was that they're starting to talk about, and Chris Thomas brought this up a little while ago as well, and I think he's got a motion for December Tynwald, basically reversing the thing that no further licences would be issued for hydrocarbon drilling in Manx waters, because that was a Tynwald decision that, that's the one.
Oops.
And he's going to try and get that reversed. Now, I'd be very interested what happens to that, because if it doesn't happen and this Tynwald says no, I think it'll come back very quickly after the election. And I think it'll be an interesting running point for quite a lot of people standing, because I just think that there's this thing here where, look, we need the money. We're starting to look around for stuff that's going on here. We need a new industry, for want of a better word. And even if it's not an industry coming here, even if it is just literally someone sticking a pipe and taking it off, and we're getting the VAT or whatever out of it, and at least that's something. And if it's down there, it'd be very interesting how Tynwald reacts to that, because I think, let's face it, the green energy stuff has taken a bit of a slide in recent months, and I think the wholehearted support you got out of a lot of people is probably not there in the same way, because they're wanting to see prices come down. And
yeah, but I think government have also sold this myth, if I'm honest, that they can provide energy cheaper than anyone else. That was the whole debate with the wind farm. But it's a load of nonsense, because the cost for the government to build it and set it up, who's going to be paying for that, Sam?
Well, funnily enough, actually, we also had a question on Keys on that this week as well, which I will put in now, actually.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask the Minister for the Treasury how he expects the Caervai wind farm to be financed, what financial commitments have already been made, and how Tynwald will be involved in this financing.
Call the Treasury Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to thank the honourable member for his question. It is first worth noting that there is currently no wind farm in place, as Manx Utilities has not yet submitted a planning application. The project remains in its development phase, with the environmental impact assessment expected to be completed soon to support a future planning application. The funding model for the potential Caervai wind farm will be determined once there is greater certainty around the delivery model. In line with other large infrastructure developments undertaken by Manx Utility, it's envisaged that the required funding will be provided through the Consolidated Loans Fund.
So that was the Treasury Minister basically being asked, how is this going to be funded? What's that? And he went, well, just, there's no definitive cost, there's no sort of thing yet, we don't know yet. And they're going, like, you should know that. We've had estimates before, which the MUA said were massively inflated, and then we've had sort of members say about this before. He's saying, well, and I get, you can't go out and say, this is how much we're going to spend on a wind farm, and then you get a company which turns up to that penny and goes, here we go, we're going to put in for that. I get you can't do that, but
you can make a rough budget.
Yeah, there is a rough budget. Let's face it, we all know there's a rough budget. We just don't know what that figure is.
Yeah, but I think it's nonsense, and I think we should really be looking to private sector companies to come here and do their own renewable energy, and we get to have some of it. And obviously the government and everyone benefits from that. Of course you do. But I do not buy the fact that we are better off having it all government operated and government ran, because you and I are going to be the ones paying for it.
Yep.
Now, are we done on business?
Yeah, because the next thing I was going to mention quickly was a planning issue.
I've got a planning thing. So I'm going to let you go first.
I think it's the same thing.
Are we talking about...
Standing orders.
Yes.
We are talking about standing orders.
MHK is being told to shut it.
Yeah, basically. Shut it, you slag.
I wasn't a slag. I was a total slag.
I wasn't a bit of a slag.
That's it.
I was a total slag.
We could just talk in like memes, I think, for hours.
Yeah.
We've done this before, though, haven't we? We just go back and forth. Sorry. Right, active planning applications, right, so, and yes. MHK is being told to shut up.
This is interesting because Tynwald voted on this, and then it was said, right, Keys should have the same rules. And this was put forward, and members went, oh, I'm not really... There's a fair few members went, I'm not really sure about this, because it's tying our hands a little bit on stuff we can't get involved in. For example, the Westmoreland Village scheme, which, despite being approved by the planning committee, is still waiting formal approval. So Tynwald cannot comment on it. They can't talk about it. And there's MHK's going, well, hold on, this is a bit wrong. So what they've done is they made a change to standing orders, which has added the extended the prejudice stuff, which, by the way, Tynwald gets wrong a lot. Like, you go back to some of the rants and stuff, none of that was prejudicial. None of it. But they insisted it was, and it was completely wrong, because that was not how a tribunal works. And I will quite happily have that argument with the Attorney General if he wants to have it. But, yeah. So, what basis? Julie Edge commented on it, Caitlin Brennan commented on it as well, Chris Thomas, in Keys this week, and a lot of it was around, like, they're saying, well, this is genuine transparency that we should be able to criticise, especially where government's involved. Because it basically, their technical point was that government could turn around and slap in a planning application for, a nuclear power station. And, well, hold on, that means Tynwald can't discuss it. We can't talk about the budget. We can't talk about the ramifications of this. We just have to wait for the planning system to go through. And then that could then get explained, but then you can't stop them talking about it out of Tynwald.
It doesn't make sense, does it?
No, it doesn't make a massive amount of sense to me. And admittedly, I've gone for the most sort of out there thing I can think of off the top of my head now. And I get that you can't have Tynwald members commenting on live planning applications because the planning system is very, very set out. You have you have lay members who vote on it and decide whether things should go ahead. Yeah. But equally, there's kind of just like an element of this where I'm like, well, is it not right that Tynwald members should be challenging things like the Westmoreland Village and like the spending of arms length companies?
But I think this is what's confusing me a bit at the minute, Sam. I think that comes also back to the whole collective vote too. Why are our elected members that we've put in there, we've voted in on certain manifestos and beliefs, then being told once they're in there, shut your gobs?
Well, Parliament does run by a set of rules, and this is one of them. The standing order stuff is, there's certain things you can't do. Famously, of course, you can accuse members of making falsehoods and gaslighting.
Got that. is my
You
highlight of this administration.
famously can do that because Tim Ward said you can, but you can't, accuse each other of being a liar outright. Various different stuff.
I can't apologise for something I haven't said.
Oh, that's still a glorious one. But so I kind of get there's rules, but equal with this, it's sort of like, well, hold on. I just think that they've gone a bit heavy with this, and it just sort of. A lot of the members' concerns were sort of washed away as well, and I think a lot of people there's a lot of members voted for it to go, yeah, okay, it's fine. And I was a bit like, well...
Do you think we're seeing a lot of things being rushed through at the minute?
I think there's a few things that are being voted through which may come back to surprise. Not surprise, maybe bite on the ass a little bit. Just certain stuff where it's like, well, hold on. If, a couple of them mentioned, well, we're doing this now, but in 15 months' time when there's a new house, they could come in and go, hold on, we'll talk about, my constituents want to hear about this. And they're going, you can't because it's the rules. And I just think that once you've changed these things and once you've closed down that door, I mean, David Ash would make a very good defence of these changes. He said about, people talking about democracy. He said, this is democracy. Democracy is voting. He said, if you want to vote this down, vote it down.
Yeah.
But they didn't. They chose to vote it through. So it's interesting how that will play out into the long run. I know this is a very boring and technical issue.
I know, it's
quite
boring,
quite
isn't it?
difficult to make jokes about, but it's something that is actually kind of important. And
can I go on to something else that it isn't boring, but it is very important?
Yes, go on.
A farmer's fireworks play.
Yes.
Which some people may also roll their eyes at when we talk about this, but I don't care because it's bloody important. A Derby farmer is asking consideration around bonfire night following devastating livestock losses and injuries on his farm last year. Tom Cleater of Balcanine Farm said fireworks set off near his fields caused absolute chaos in his flock. The incident resulted in 4 ewes aborting their lambs and 1 ewe being treated for arthritis, panicking so badly that she shattered her hip. This shouldn't still be happening. We should know better to have more consideration for livestock and for pets, for animals, just for all of it, than to just set bloody fireworks off all the time. I think it's unbelievably selfish and stupid.
I have an issue. I do like fireworks, I must admit.
Go to your organised firework display then.
They're quite often crap. Not crap, but they're not as funny.
No, but how funny is it when animals end up being put down or having to abort or aborting their babies because of it? Or the cost implications.
I really do get that. It's just... I don't know. It's just it's a difficult one. I think it is a lot more difficult than just saying yes or no for these things.
But also people have seemed to have forgotten to just knock on your farmer's door or go around the neighbourhood being like, hey, I'm going to have some fireworks. How far away is a nightmare for you? Be bloody considerate. But I think so many people now are just so selfish and don't care if the knock-on effects of things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't live out in the countryside. I live in the metropolitan elite.
Yeah, I'm a country bumpkin.
So it's in Onken, you just sort of get... I mean, I haven't seen one yet because there's always a post on Onken residents' page of who's setting off firework, the dog shat itself. And people...
But it's sad though, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's become a running joke in Onken because people do that in the middle of February. So
right.
It's and then it'll be but... There's also, there's a parameter around when these things can happen, and there's a very sort of fixed date around when they can happen around the end of October into November, and then again at New Year. So it is quite restricted. And again, this did go to public consultation a while ago. I think it was Daphne Kane brought it, and the public basically went, no, we want our fireworks. And yeah, I completely agree that people should have more consideration, especially around where they know there's livestock. Especially because, bear in mind, that will have been people who know. Nobody's driving from Douglas up there to set the fireworks off.
No.
That'll be people around there who know them.
Yeah.
And I just think that, it's difficult. But ultimately, if you're going to have fireworks, try and let people know and don't be an asshole.
Yeah, Bob, you pretty much summarised that bloody well, actually, Sam. Yeah, don't be a dick.
However, if anyone fancies setting some off on Onken, would you mind putting it on Facebook so I can sit in the window and watch? So,
Ramsey fireworks have actually... Ramsey commissioners have cancelled their fireworks, haven't they?
Yeah, because of the wind, yeah. I just think Katy Perry's got a lot to answer for.
She does.
Because,
Hell of a lot.
Yeah.
Should take a break and come back in a minute.
Yeah. I blame Katy Perry for a lot.
Welcome to Friday. We've covered quite a bit, Sam, haven't we? We've been a bit boring this week. I'm sorry. We're just trying not to get told off, but undoubtedly something we say will have upset someone. Now, I want to move to the lovely health service. I don't want us to get too buried in this now, Sam, and too bogged down because it's depressing enough, But let's talk about waiting times to go and see your lovely GP.
Right, so, keys this week. There's a question about the average wait time for a patient to see their GP. Now, it's come down from last year, from 8.4 days to 7.4 days. The Health Minister, Claire Christian, took questions on this and the impact on Noble's emergency department. Turns out this is actually quite interesting, because I always assumed there would be a big impact on this. I think Meds is probably taking a lot of the load here. But there's very weak or basically no correlation between a rise in people seeing their GP and a rise in ED figures. They don't line up. It's like they've looked at them, they just don't line up. I think Meds is probably carrying a lot of the load there.
Right, okay.
But also saying, a lot of things around ED waiting times are driven by hospital bed activity and patient discharge and stuff like that. But then, so you get this thing now where this is 7.4 days. Now, I've got doctors today, and they rang me 2 weeks ago, and they said, "Oh, can you book an appointment in to see a doctor?" I was like, "Okay, right, it's a phone appointment, all right, grand." I ring up to book it, and they go, "Oh yeah, it's 2 weeks."
Oh, yeah, no.
I'm like, "Well, hold on, it's maybe a telephone appointment." "Oh, no, he may want to see it." I'm like, "Well, that's your decision, not mine. The doctor said he wants a telephone appointment. You're not saying I've got to come in, but I've got to wait 2 weeks." I don't get why that works like that. I don't understand how does it take 2 weeks for an appointment that the doctor's asked you to book?
Do you remember way back when you could ring the doctors up and get an appointment that day?
Yeah, I mean, you still can if you sort of ring at 8 o'clock in the morning, you just keep spamming the recall.
I've not been able to do that in a really long time. I get I ring mine and it's like, maybe in 3 weeks' time, 4 weeks, and I'm like, oh, okay, let's hope I haven't died by then.
Well, yes, Rob Castle challenged the figures, citing constituent feedback, including one of them actually was a message from me, about being told there's no availability for 2 to 3 weeks. Onken's in a weird place with GPs because a lot of people aren't registered at Onken GP. Because Kensington was Onken's group practice, and then it moved to Kensington years ago. So there's a lot of people in Onken who are registered Kensington, which is one of the busier ones on the island. And then you've got the Onken practice, which a lot of people aren't registered at despite living in Onken. So I'm just clarifying I'm not running down a certain GP there by mentioning Onken specifically. But they are doing a thing where they looked at a virtual GP pilot in the north, which created an additional 484 appointments, I believe, in September. And Claire Christian said the pilot will be assessed to see how successful it is, with the thought that if it does get rolled out, then it can go across, and she's going to update members on that now. I'm going to say something you never thought I'd say. Fair play, Claire Christian, right? If that works as a system, and the government can prove it works, and they've trialled something along with Manx.Care, and it works, and you get an additional GP appointments because people are able to do it over Zoom or whatever they're using, absolutely fair play, well done.
Yeah, no, 100%. If that works, brilliant.
If you can get that up, yourself, right? You go to see your GP, you sort of feel like you have to sort of hang around for a little bit, don't you? When you're in and out for in 4 minutes, they feel disappointed.
Well, actually, Sam, I wouldn't know that because whenever I go to my GP, I normally go with a list of things that I've...
I see. Ours there's a thing on the wall saying you come in with one complaint and one complaint only.
Oh, no,
I don't care if your left arm's falling off and your right arm's going red.
I don't go to the GP very often at all. So when I go, I make sure that it's worth that time. I'm coming with a big list of things that I've noticed this, and this.
I imagine you just get a vet out and if you've got like a rash or something, you just jump in the sheep dip.
I'd be more than happy if I've got a cut or something. I would ring the vet and be like, "Can you just come stitch it up?" It's absolutely fine by me. I can get it done quicker.
That's fair, actually. The only other thing on health I want to touch on briefly is, and I'll drop a little bit of her speech in, is Joni Farragher has been given leave to introduce a bill to secure the provision of free period products. I was actually quite interested in this debate because it wasn't a clear-cut debate. There was actually some really good points made by people who were saying, well, this is already available in a lot of schools, and there's a thing in Douglas in the library where there's a charity put together, and it's being used. So I think there's a very interesting argument here about how much it costs the public purse, and whether it's something that's maybe better saying, instead of the government going out and doing this, whether there's a system, whether there's a better way of saying to a third sector organisation, what would you require in additional funding to run that? And I think that's possibly a way that we could work around that a little bit, as opposed to putting this on a legal requirement on local authorities who have public toilets, on schools. I just think that it's a really well-intentioned thing. I really do believe in it. I know Rhea Evans spoke on it. She's done a lot of work on it as well. Yeah. And I just think this could be a little, especially getting the private members through before the next election. I just can't see that getting done. But I think Joni might succeed in her overall aims without necessarily requiring the bill to get through.
Once again, I seek leave to introduce the Period Products Free Provision Bill, legislation to ensure free, accessible period products for all who need them across our island via provision in publicly run facilities. I know the questions that may arise. Why should they be free? Can we afford it? But we already provide toilet paper and soap in public facilities because they meet a natural need and uphold comfort, hygiene and dignity.
Yeah, I think it's it's coming from such a good place. I think that is the place to lead with it. It's coming from a really, really good place. I don't think anyone can argue against the social aspect to it and the thought to it. I think, yeah, brilliant. My concern is the cost. And I think that was echoed by quite a few different members, is how much is this going to cost the public purse? And I think that's the main thing. It will be down to cost, and yeah.
And it'll be, I think it'll be interesting, because I know that she just, if you can read that on Manx.New, and there's also, we've got the audio for the whole sort of that bit of that bit of Keys. It's interesting because she said about the cost in Scotland. They flagged it as what it was going to cost, and actually ended up costing less because they found that they assumed people would stockpile. Didn't happen. They assumed that it would be abused. It doesn't happen, and it's a really interesting sort of.
It doesn't. You're dealing with women.
Well, yes, like you put 3 toilet roll in the local pub, the men will have it on time.
Yeah, the women aren't.
They won't, but But anyway, so that is on Manx.New. You can go find all that. So Charlie, we're going to turn to sport.
Well, we've got a really big sport news today.
We do. Can I do it?
Yes, you can do it.
We have a brand new, quite frankly, fantastic Parrot Arts Masters standing champion of the world!
Callum Brew.
Yeah, boy. He won the final in Hungary. He was competing against Dutch competitor Stefan Bakker. Won 5-2 in the final. You can see a little bit on Manx.New's cam, so he was absolutely blown away with the messages he's received from everyone winning the World Championship, something I've dreamt of for a long time. Thanked everyone who supported him, especially his sponsors who've come on board. Special thanks to his parents and family who've supported him to get that far. He's looking ahead to 2026, so anyone who wants to get on board with sponsoring a World Champion, you can get Callum through that. And he also took the time to congratulate Darren Kennish, who has been previously the world number 1 in the wheelchair darts. He narrowly lost out in the final. And fantastic to see the Island doing really well at that. And especially congratulations to Callum.
I think that's such a lovely story, because we've reported on Callum for quite a while actually for his Paradarts campaign, and he's been doing such a good job, and it's brilliant to see that.
Yeah, and I think as well the way he's built, we've followed it a little bit how he's built up through the different, and he's climbed up that ladder quite well.
And he's gained local sponsors too, companies over here have got behind him and helped him on this journey, and I think bloody well done, Callum.
Absolutely, yeah. You can find it on Manx.News, and if you want to sponsor Callum, you can message him on Facebook, Callum Brew, and it might have sticks in the middle of it as well.
I think it does have sticks in the middle of it.
So you can find Callum there, and you can also read a lot more about that tournament. There's other people who have tagged him and stuff, congratulating him who are playing there, or organised and all that, so there's lots of stuff on his Facebook page about that as well. What else? What have you got in sport, Charlie?
Some hockey news actually, Sam.
Hockey?
Yes, I've got some hockey. Sienna Dunn has earned her place in the England squad set to compete at this year's Junior World Cup.
Absolutely amazing. And
unbelievable.
Sienna, another person, to be fair, I remembered following the previous company that I worked for, and through here as well. That's the one. And through here as well, and it's absolutely brilliant to see Sienna doing really well. And I'm going to embarrass him slightly because I know that her dad's a massive helping and ensuring that everyone knows how well she's doing. And I love the pride that you get when he sends you a message. You can see it coming through.
Oh, I don't think there's anything better than getting that's one of my favourite things in this job, is getting an email from a really proud parent. And I think it's beautiful. Absolutely love to see it. And so they should be so proud of their kids.
I mean, I know Sienna, she won one of the Rising Stars things in hockey a little while ago, and she's played at some amazing venues and she's been involved in some amazing teams, and now it's just great to see her going off and competing in this. And again, it just shows that the Isle of Man has this unbelievable ability to produce fantastic sports stars, and it just points back to the whole thing of, do you know what, we should be investing a bit more in this.
We should. And I'd also like to... Have you got football stuff?
I have.
Okay, can I bore you first?
Yeah, go on.
Okay. Ingham has finished Poe in fine form. So that was her final event of the season in El Francais last weekend. The CCI 5 Star Long in Po, she came 12th. So she was riding Rehi DJ. And they jumped from 21st place after dressage to 16th after a clear cross-country round on Saturday. And then on Sunday, they just picked up 4 faults on the show jumping. But yeah, to finish in 12th place, which is absolutely brilliant.
Absolutely.
And that cross-country was causing a fair bit of carnage, actually, on Saturday. So I was like... And it's just really nice to see that she's had this really good round after a few little setbacks with Pig. Obviously, badminton didn't go to plan, which was just... an amazing cross-country round there, and then sadly I think he picked up an infection overnight, and then he couldn't jump on the Sunday. And at the Europeans, she had that really, really unfortunate fall. So I think this is exactly what she needed, and yeah, bloody well done.
You know, we say like cross-country, I was like, it takes just do cross-country that I used to do, which is do half a lap of the top part of Nobles Park and then hide in the toilets, wait for everyone else to come around on the second lap, so you didn't have to do the rest of it.
Do you know where they used to send us?
No.
Up to Albert Tower.
Bugger that.
Yeah, I was knackered by the end of Crossings. And then I'd see like the really fit people there just running away, and I'd be like, oh, fuck my life.
Yeah, it turns out I'm not the only person in my family who's got a history of cheating on cross-country. Turns out my dad used to cheat on cross-country as well. He used to cut through the cemetery at, the Douglas Borough Cemetery. Mm-hmm. They'd cut through there and pick it back up as it come back down to Tremode. And that was their way of getting around and doing a load of it.
Big fat
yeah, so in other sporting news, the Alman Batten twirling squad returned victorious from Bournemouth after competing in the United Twirl England Batten Twirling Team Championship. That is a mouthful, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's a proper mouthful.
I do not, and I mean, you know, I do the announcements at FCMM, which people in Balcombe Drive can hear, people 50 yards away from me can't hear. But that is, I couldn't say that. I struggle enough pronouncing like Dean Piddington, so I couldn't be doing that. But yeah, the squad's absolutely fantastic. They were only formed in like July. I think they've come in from like different people. And
they've come from a load of little community clubs, haven't they?
Yeah, and Coach Emily Challoner, she said about achieving success in so little time, just absolutely outstanding. There's like, I know it's sort of rude to say it, but there's a full list on Manx.News of every team that won and every competitor. But yeah, a massive congratulations to everyone, and then to Emily and Katie, their coaches. There, you can see that on Manx.News. Also, over the last weekend, Douglas climbed into the top 3 in Northwest Division 1 in the rugby. They beat Birkenhead Park. I can't remember what score they beat them at. It was a pretty good game, and I've lost the score. So Douglas won anyway. I think it was 34-24. 32. 32-24 Douglas won. So they are... Yes, they are up to 3rd in that league, and it'll be fantastic to see them kick on. Ramsey had a bit of a difficult weekend away. But they played a team that ran over like 100 points the week before, and they got nowhere near that against Ramsey, so they did really well there. And and then locally, sticking with, I'm going to switch to football. Defending champions Peel won at the weekend, dragged themselves back into the Railway Cup contention. Wait until you see the graphic that I've come up with for Peel versus Onken this weekend.
I'm really excited.
That's the feature game I've sort of focused on because it's like a big sort of thing with the title and for Railway Cup spots. And I've done it as 2 cowboys facing each other. Oh. With like Peel and Onken sort of. It looks so naff.
I'll make sure to look out for it and like it.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely horrible. But one of them things where you do it and went, that's so bad, I'm going for it. And it's title drama Heads West, and it's 2 cowboys with like Peel and Uncle on them. And just finally, with sticking with football, FC Armagh won last weekend away at City of Liverpool. Beat the Perps. The Perps, because you got Everton is blue, Liverpool's red, so they're the Perps.
Do you know what we haven't even discussed about this week?
What?
Steam Packet.
Well, the ride from hell, I was going to finish on that, so...
You're going to finish on the ride from hell?
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about something to do with being proud to be Manx, but take it away.
Well, last quick thing, FCM won away, well done then. So
well done, guys!
The ferry sailing from hell on Sunday night, which we've all seen videos of online. So basically the version of it is it went out in what they believe was going to be 4-6 gales, and there's going to be certain height waves, and it got worse very quickly upon leaving the Mersey. And then they had an issue where the smoke was detected in one of the engines, so they had to switch an engine off. There's people getting bounced all over the place, and there's a little part of me that thought, you know what, and I'm going to get some criticism of this, it kind of looked a little bit fun. Like, just one of them things you're going, I would hate that, but there's be a part of me there going, yes!
You and Jamie would have been in heaven together, just loving it.
Yeah, boy.
I'd have been vomiting in a corner, being like, make it end.
I think a lot of people like that. And also, of course, there has been a considerable amount of damage done to
hell of a lot of damage.
Yeah, and that's not good for anybody. The Steam Packet, however, their crew were praised really well for how they handled it. And
Oh God, can you imagine being a member of the crew when everyone's vomiting around? Like, I'm not being funny, but you know when someone's sick near you, all of a sudden, like, even if you weren't feeling sick before the smell, you're like...
yeah, I went out on the 5am sailing when they did the Liverpool 5am sailing back in August, and it was like, coming out of here, it was like silent because it was getting bounced around that much. And it's sort of, we had this one where it was like, and it juddered and hit like a big wave and just went, and there was people there who went silent, and then just in the corner of my eye, there was a woman being sick, and then I could look to my right to block her out, and then I'm like, I can't see properly out that right eye. I could just see a guy just blurrily being sick in front of me, and I was just there going, I'm going outside. And the lad on the bar was like, oh, the captain did advise you stay seated. And I was like, I'm not being funny, mate. I'm more likely to jump over the back than sitting there at the minute. So I'm going outside.
The vomit comment, I just couldn't. I remember being on a really bad sailing back on the Ben from Heysham to here during like December. God, I must have been like 17. I was working over there at the time. And I remember sitting there and it was getting worse and worse. And I was also hungover. And I was sat there.
At 17?
Maybe I was 18. And I remember like sitting there and then trying not to be sick, but it kept coming. And then, you know, when it fills your mouth. And I just have this, I hate doing anything like that in public. And I was just trying to put my hand over it. I remember putting my hand in front of my mouth, but it like going through my fingers. And I was like, ugh. And a really lovely person came up and like got me some sick bags and some tissues and stuff. And I was like, I'm so sorry.
If you've got any experiences of being sick on the steam packet, let us know by commenting below on the Facebook pages.
And talking of reasons to be proud to be Manx.
Yeah.
Now, Sam, I got a bit of stick from this because I know I said I wasn't going to talk about it, but I thought, actually, do you know what, I will. In my opinion piece, I said that I've actually never been more ashamed to be Manx, and I'm not proud of it at the minute. And I think that's a really double-edged sword because I would love to sit here and be really proud to be Manx, especially like my mum's side of the family and my dad's. Actually, we've got a really strong heritage with the island, and I really care about like that heritage that's there. For my great-grandfather, he was a one-armed sign painter, and a lot of the works you'll see in the south of the island were done by him. And then obviously on my dad's side, my grandpa was an MHK. That is the rain outside. So I do really care. And then I think you see all these sporting stories, and there's so many reasons to be proud. But then I actually look at the politics of what's going on here at the minute, and I can't say I'm proud to be associated with that. Are you genuinely proud to be Manx at the minute?
Well, yeah, largely. I mean, I'm not technically Manx, as my dad likes to point out. He likes to point out the come over tag a lot. Despite the fact I was only born in Liverpool for medical reasons. But, so, you know, it's one of them where I think you can disassociate the government from that and Tynwald from that a little bit. And I just think, you know, there's a lot more... Because, you know, think about it this way. People were being sick on a boat on Sunday night, but they weren't being sick on a Manx boat. There's some pride.
A Manx boat that cost the taxpayer millions, that I still begs the question of why we bought it if we're still calling it the island's lifeline. You know, I just really struggle, and I think, yes, the place is beautiful, but I think the Isle of Man could be absolutely amazing. Yeah, every way I look, I just see people getting screwed over by the place. I think the high streets around the island, different towns, are all falling apart. That many businesses are falling apart. We have a health system that, you know, I don't need to go into too much detail on. Equally, you look at the education system, and that begs questions. I think that, and then, you know, you even look at the prison, for example. There's so many different things to look at.
A lot of them aren't Manx.
No, but I mean how it's the running of it. That's what I'm on about. And we've all heard different stories about that and what's going on. And those things I'm not proud to be associated with.
Well, if you decide that you hate your country like Charlie and want to see it taken over...
But that's the thing. I don't hate my country, Sam. I don't. I really love it. And I want to be so proud to be from here and it to be a leader in the way that how the world should be. But I think it's failing. So no, I don't hate my country. I want better for my country.
Will, do you think Charlie hates her country?
No, I don't think so.
Why? Who asked you anyway?
But that's the thing though, Sam. I'm not saying I hate it, because if I hate it, I wouldn't live here. I've moved away multiple times before, and I come back for a reason. And I come back because I have, sadly, what I now think is a bit of a false hope that it's going to get better, and I can see all the potential that it has, but it just isn't living up to.
That's the hope that killed you.
Yeah, but it's not right, is it?
Probably not. But, you know, You can always stand for the keys, Charlie.
There's an election coming up.
Exactly. There's a vote in the morning, there's an election coming up, and there's also a weekend coming up, Charlie. So what are you doing for this weekend?
This weekend, the weather looks like it's going to be a bit better than it has been today and last night. So I'm actually going to go to Keller's in the morning. I'm gonna go out for a nice little brunch trip. So I'm excited to do that. And then Sunday it's my granddad's birthday. So my granddad's birthday's on Monday, but I think we're going to go for a family get together and see him on Sunday. And I'll probably fit in going and seeing my grandma too, and then playing with some horses. So that's my plans. What about you? Football.
I'm at Hopchinay party tonight.
All right. Yes.
I've got my costume.
What are you dressing as?
I'm going as Mrs. Foley's baby boy, the hardcore legend himself, Mick Foley.
Right.
Which I have worn. I looked on Facebook. I have worn the same outfit for the last 10 years. You can just tell the flannel shirt's gotten more raggy every year. So is the main shirt. I might have to switch it up next year. But I was drawing my own Mr. Socko last night, which for anyone who's a fan of 90s or early 2000s wrestling,
I did see that on your story.
Yeah, you'll be aware of Mr. Socko. And so I'll be doing that. And then, yes, FC Man are at home this weekend against Longridge Town. That's why I can go out tonight.
Longridge, I used to live near Longridge. There.
Look, another reason she doesn't want to be on the Isle of Man, because she wants to support Longridge.
No, I kept coming back because I wanted to support the Isle of Man.
So don't see you at the bowl. But so we're playing Longridge Town on Saturday night, looking to go 4 unbeaten. The Ravens have not lost 3 games this calendar year in a row for only the second time.
So wait, so how many games have they lost?
So they haven't lost in the last 3 games.
Woo!
They've picked up 7 points out of the last 3 games.
Can we thank Big Al Maitland for that?
He didn't play in at least one of them. So.
But can I still thank him?
Yeah, sure.
It's Big Al Maitland.
Yeah,
That's the reason it's doing well.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And so we'll carry on with that this weekend. And there's local footy going on as well. There's Onken and Peel to face in a big title clash there. You can find out that and a load more sport that's on this weekend at Manx.New.
Can you believe it's November on Saturday?
No. In fact, it's November in 12 hours and 34 minutes. Just to give away what time we're filming this at today.
So, you now need to start watching your Harry Potters every Sunday night to get them all in before Christmas.
Oh, I've already started. I've done Chamber of Secrets last week. Because they're all on Netflix now.
Yeah, they are.
So I'd have to sit and watch them on ITV in the middle of the afternoon.
Or get out the DVD player and whack them in there.
Yeah, that's old school. But no, you can watch them all on Netflix, which I'm enjoying. So, yep. 2 down, and how many to go? 5 to go?
5.
I'll lose track.
Which is your favourite one?
Oh, my favourite Harry Potter, it would probably be, I like Prisoner of Azkaban. It's very good. I'm not a massive Goblet of Fire fan.
No, neither am I.
A lot of people rave about it. I really like the second Deathly Hallows. You know when they're going on the thing trying to find all the stuff? I love that.
You know the one where, oh gosh, what's the teacher's name when she brings them down and she's like, protect your school.
Yes. Oh, Maggie Smith, where she goes, I've always wanted to do that.
Yes, I love that bit. So my favourite would be Prisoner of Azkaban and then Deathly Hallows Part 2. I love Prisoner of Azkaban because, you know, when they're in the double-decker bus or the triple-decker bus, that is exactly how I see myself when I'm driving my horse box, going through Kurt Michael, being like, but I think I love Prisoner of Azkaban. Find the Goblet of Fire a bit too scary for me. I'm not a big scary film girly, and I know it's not scary, but that is a bit too much for me. Chamber of Secrets, I don't like because again, I find it a bit too dark and scary. Philosopher's Stone, it's legendary. You can't not like that one. I cry a lot in The Half-Blood Prince and The Order of the Phoenix.
I was about to say Half-Blood Prince, I think, is Snape's reveal right at the end of that is fantastic because Alan Rickman was just unbelievable in that role, and I just think the way I am the Half-Blood Prince. It's like, oh wow, mate.
The talent of that man was, I think we were actually really lucky to be able to witness that. So yeah, I find those two, I'm just bawling my eyes out. And I find Deathly Hallows Part 1 really quite depressing.
Yeah.
It goes on a long time, doesn't it? But I do understand why it has to set that scene. But anyway, sorry, we got sidetracked.
I think just finally, the sort of golden moment in Deathly Hallows Part 2, right, and it's a real sort of background moment, is when the whole place is ruined, and then Finch is just there with a broom, and he's like, just use a bit of magic, mate, and he's just there pushing giant rocks out of the way with his broom, and I'm like, I just love that bit.
I think, I love Harry Potter though. I love Harry Potter.
Yeah, I was talking to someone recently who told me they didn't enjoy Harry Potter, and we're just adding minutes onto this podcast now. But yeah, I was talking to someone who told me they didn't enjoy Harry Potter, and I'm genuinely like just amazed at that, because I just think it's such an amazing series, such an amazing like. Yeah,
I really want to insult them, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, I won't either. But
it begs a lot of questions.
I'm also looking forward to the new series when that comes out. I think that'd be great. HBO, Sky, Max, one I think it is.
I've got mixed feelings on these things, Sam.
Yeah, I know, but this is the problem, Charlie. We're getting old. Right, we're getting to a point where stuff that we watch is getting remade.
I know.
And that's what happens, unfortunately. Do you know what will never be remade?
What?
This podcast. And on that note, it's goodbye from Will.
Bye.
I didn't cue him for that one, did I? It's goodbye from Charlie.
And it's goodbye from Sam.